Are you thinking of coming to Canada? Or are you in Canada and you'd like to become a resident? Or maybe even a Canadian citizen? Or maybe you've already taken the Speaking CELPIP exam, but you still have questions. If any of these are true, then this beginner's guide is for you. Hello, this is Jim from Jim's Speaking Success. I also run the website Tutorky and the Jim's Speaking Success Academy. In this video, I'm going to first talk about the 8 parts of the CELPIP speaking exam, give you some tips, and then in the end, I'm going to give you some resources, some places where you can get free resources. How does that sound? Pretty good, huh? So I'm here to help improve your speaking, your overall speaking, so you can do much better on the CELPIP exam. Okay? I have students that say to me, well, I can't think of what to say for a certain question. I couldn't think of what to say. Okay, and then what I say is that, well, you haven't practiced enough. It's very important to practice all different aspects of English. Practice as many different speaking test questions as you can. And I guarantee you, after a while, you will be able to answer all the questions that come your way. Okay? All right, so first of all, what is the speaking exam on the CELPIP? Well, it's one of the 4 parts on the CELPIP exam. We have listening, writing, reading, and speaking. Okay? Well, the next thing is who takes the CELPIP exam? Who needs to take the CELPIP exam? Well, people who want to become residents of Canada, people who want to become a citizen of Canada. Yeah. And also others, sometimes the CELPIP is necessary for certain professions, like for example, real estate or becoming an immigration consultant. But most are taking the CELPIP exam because they want to be a resident of Canada or they want to become a citizen. Okay, so if you want to learn more about this, about who takes the CELPIP exam, you're welcome to go to the website celpip.ca. Okay, now what if you want to come to Canada for studying? Okay, well, we don't take the CELPIP exam for studying. We have a different exam. It's called the CAEL, Canadian Academic English Language Exam. Okay, and that's the one you will take if you want to come to study. Of course, you can take the IELTS as well. If you want more information about CAEL exam, go to the website cael.ca. Okay, good. Now, there are 2 versions to the CELPIP exam. The first version is called the General CELPIP. That's when you take all 4 sections, and most people take all 4 sections. They need to take all 4 sections, but if you're becoming a citizen of Canada, you only need to take another type of exam, which is called the CELPIP LS. It means listening and speaking. You only need 2 portions, 2 sections of the exam when you're becoming a citizen. Okay, all right, very good then. Let's now talk about, well, what is the speaking exam all about? Well, We say that the speaking exam is functional. Functional means you talk about everyday activities that could happen to you on a daily basis. For example, at work, what kinds of events could happen? What kinds of things could happen? Well, you may need to talk to your coworkers, your boss about something. That could be on the exam. Or maybe you lost something, lost your keys, and you need to go to the lost and found. You need to go to the bank. Well, there are many activities that you need to do in the day, and that's what's covered on the speaking exam. For example, maybe you want to talk about a past experience. You want to talk to your friends about a past experience. Maybe you need to describe a picture, or maybe you need to talk about a difficult situation. Okay? The CELPIP speaking is not about academic. It's about everyday activities. Okay, great. The next thing that's important to talk about is how are you evaluated on the CELPIP exam? What do the examiners want? Okay, well, there are four things the examiners are looking for. They're listening for content and coherence, vocabulary, listenability, and task fulfillment. Okay, let's talk about content and coherence. It means how organized are your thoughts? Are you speaking in a manner in which we can understand and follow? Right? Vocabulary. You know what vocabulary is. Are you using the correct vocabulary? How is your range of vocabulary? Are you only using simple vocabulary, or are you using the right vocabulary for the right moment? And that's called accuracy. Okay? And then next, listenability. Listenability is what you think it is. It's when the examiner is listening, can he understand what you're saying? Right? How is your pronunciation? How is your grammar? Yes, they do check grammar in this section. Think about it. If your grammar is bad, it's hard to listen to what you're saying. You're using past tense when you should be using present. Then there's also intonation and hesitation. Like, are you thinking you don't know what to say? You say, let's see, what should I say next? Okay, that's why it's very important to practice again and again speaking activity. Practice it until you're not hesitating, until you can say it quickly. Okay, great. Then after listenability, the fourth one is called task fulfillment. It means, did you do what the question asked you to do? Is it relevant? Are you talking about the correct subject? How about the length? Did you talk the whole 60 seconds? Or did you just talk for 40 seconds and you can't think of anything more to talk about? Or did you try to talk for 2 minutes and you got cut off after 1 minute and you only got to say half of what you wanted to say, right? Those are the four things that the examiners look at. Okay, now last but not least, let's talk about how do we score the CELPIP exam. Well, scoring is between 1 and 12. 12 means you're fluent like a native speaker. 1 means you really can't say anything. I think it's actually called an M. You get a letter M means you really can't speak English. But anyway, normally people need about a level 7 to get to get what they need. You want to become a permanent resident, level 7. Some need level 9 to move to Canada. Others, I think, to become a real estate agent, I think you need a level 7. And others need a level 9 for becoming an immigration consultant. Okay, so it's different levels. If you're a care worker, we need care workers a lot in Canada. People who take care of the elderly. They only need a level 4. They only need to pass level 4 in order to get their residency. So you see, it depends on what your needs are. Okay, let's talk about the speaking exam. First important point, the speaking exam is not like the IELTS exam. In IELTS, you talk to a real person. In the CELPIP exam, you talk to the computer. And there are 8 tasks that you talk into the computer. Each task has a certain amount of preparation time and a certain amount of speaking time. Most prep times are, say, 30 seconds. Yeah, 30 seconds, that's not much time to prep. That's why you need to practice a lot, so you can think of things to say in 30 seconds. After the prep time, then you have speaking time, and speaking time is usually 60 seconds, but 2 of the tasks have 90 seconds. Yeah, 90 seconds seems like a long time to talk, but once you've practiced each of those tasks, you can do it. And the important point is you should talk for the whole time. Most of the time, if it's 90 seconds, you should talk for at least 85 seconds and have a conclusion at the very end. Okay, next part. Let's talk about the parts of the exam in more detail. Remember, I told you there are 8 parts to the exam, 8 tasks. Task number 1 is called giving advice. Giving advice to a friend. Maybe your friend wants to try a new sport. Well, you need to give advice on your favorite sport. Maybe your favorite sport is swimming. So you'd give, say, 3 good reasons why your friend should choose swimming as a sport. Task number 2, describing a personal experience. In this task, you should usually choose a personal experience you really had, like maybe you traveled somewhere. For example, I've traveled to Cuba with a friend, so I could talk about that trip. And usually you should always say something why it was a valuable trip to you. What was memorable about that trip? Yes, so there are really 2 questions for the personal experience. It's talk about personal experience and talk about why it was a memorable experience, right? You must remember to answer both of those questions. Task number 3, I believe it's called describing a scene. You're given a photo, an illustration of someplace. For example, maybe it's a nursery school. A picture of a nursery school with children doing many different activities. Well, in this circumstance, you need to use present continuous usually. Present continuous to explain what the children are doing. For example, maybe two children are eating lunch. You want to describe how they're eating lunch. They're having a sandwich. One of the children is eating it not very neatly. Crumbs, parts of the sandwich are dropping onto the table, for example. Okay, good. Task number 4. Task number 4 is called It's called making predictions. And making predictions is they use the exact same photo, the exact same illustration as in task number 3. But now you have to describe what you think is going to happen in the future. Well, how about those 2 children that are eating lunch? Well, they're going to finish eating lunch. They might continue eating lunch until one of the teachers comes over and tells them it's lunchtime is over. It's time to put up all your lunch materials, right? Maybe another child is doing something different, like playing with toys on the floor. Well, perhaps that child is going to quit the um, building blocks, for example. Okay, he could be building blocks. Well, maybe that child is going to build blocks all the way to the top and then knock it down with his hands, for example. Task number 5. Task number 5 is called comparing and persuading. You have a situation where you want to persuade a friend or a family member to do something. One example is maybe you and a cousin are going to a beach in Cuba or Mexico, and your cousin wants to stay in a cheap place, but you don't. You would like to stay in a more expensive, luxurious place. Now, your job is to convince your cousin why he should spend more money and stay in a more expensive place. Well, maybe the Wi-Fi is better there. Maybe it's next to the beach, and at nighttime you'll be able to hear the waves that will lull you to sleep. And frankly, maybe there's a great view of the ocean as well. Task number 6. Task number 6 is called, I believe, describing a difficult situation. Let me check and see. It is called, dealing with a difficult situation. So, an example difficult situation, well, maybe your boss has invited you to a seminar on the weekend, but you already have plans with your family to travel someplace. You have 2 choices. You can tell your boss that you're sorry that you can't make it. You already have travel plans. Or the other choice is you can tell your family, I'm sorry, we can't go traveling anymore. We'll have to travel a different weekend. In any case, dealing with a difficult situation, you need to be as polite as possible and maybe give reasons, things that you will do in place of that, right? Just to make the other person feel better about it. Task number 7. Task number 7 is called expressing opinions. Expressing opinions, that's a little bit like writing. You start out, you say, in my opinion, we should do this way for 3 reasons. First of all, we should do it for this reason. Secondly, for another reason. Thirdly, for another reason. For example, how about, do you think dictionaries are useful for learning languages? Explain your reasons. Well, yes, of course. We think dictionaries are very important for learning languages, but you need to think of at least 3 good reasons why dictionaries are useful. Well, maybe dictionaries are useful when you're traveling. An online dictionary can help you communicate with anybody. Say you've forgotten a word, you can use a dictionary to look it up. So it helps with communication. The last task. Oh, the last task is the most difficult. It's called describing an unusual situation. They will give you a very strange looking photo and you need to try to describe it. Like, for example, this photo right here, or this photo right here. You can see that both of those are difficult to describe, but you should just describe them using whatever vocabulary you have available. For example, one is a picture of toys falling off a cargo ship, floating to shore, and children are picking up the toys on the beach. Okay? Well, you might not know what a cargo ship is, but you can call it a ship. You may not know what a bin is for holding lots of toys, but just explain it in your easiest vocabulary you know. Great. Resources. What kind of resources are available for studying the CELPIP exam? Well, I'd say the very first resource is YouTube. In YouTube, there are so many videos on CELPIP. If you want to learn about task number 5, for example, you can just type in CELPIP Speaking Task number 5, and you'll get lots of videos on that particular task. I suggest the Paragon videos. Those videos have been made by Paragon, which is the maker of the test. So look for those types of videos. Also, if you want to know more about YouTube, how to use YouTube to find CELPIP materials, check my blog site on Tuturkey. Tuturkey, there is a article. It's called YouTube is a great place to find CELPIP materials. Check it out. I think you'll find it useful. There are other places to find CELPIP materials. How about Amazon.com? Most people don't think of Amazon.com, but it's a good spot because the materials are usually inexpensive. For example, you can download the Kindle edition of different CELPIP materials for like about $10, $9 or $10 a piece. And then anytime you want on your cell phone, you can study that material. There are also blog sites. There's Presto English blog site. There is ESL Red Deer. Those are all great places to read about CELPIP. But of course, the very best place to get CELPIP materials is Paragon Testing Enterprises. That's at celpip.ca. And they are the makers of the test. So they have materials. For example, if you're willing to pay for materials, on Paragon Testing Enterprises, you can get example tests from the past, tests that were taken in the past by students, example task questions. And I find those very useful. When I'm tutoring with my students, I usually go through some of those tests that are on Paragon Enterprises. They're probably the best for studying CELPIP. Okay. Also, if you want to, I have some materials. You can check out my YouTube channel, right? My YouTube channel called Jim English Speaking. I've collected all the videos that I think are the best videos for studying CELPIP. And I also have an online course if you're interested. The online course is called Masterclass CELPIP Speaking 7 Plus. It's directed at students who want to get at least a 7 on the exam. With me, you'll go through strategies. You'll have examples that I've developed, examples to score on certain tasks, on all 8 tasks. And also, you have other examples. There's a PDF that goes with it that gives you lots of example questions for you to practice. Okay, great. Now, so my blog site on TuTurkey has many different articles for you to read. Okay. How to self-study at home. Well, the best way is you should practice as many tasks as you can for the speaking exam, right? You practice all 8 tasks, but you also practice as many example questions as you can find. You will find that sooner or later, you will start being able to answer all the questions that come your way. You won't be thinking, oh, I don't have much to say about this question. You'll be able to answer it because of the practice you've done. And at home, you should not only should you practice one speaking task question over and over again, but you also should make sure you practice it until you're not hesitating at all, right? You don't want to go, right? And you should really actually record your voice each time you talk. Record your voice, listen to it yourself. And when you listen to your own voice, you can see things that you need to correct. Okay, that's about all I have today. If you like this video, then please like it. Subscribe to my channel. Turn on notifications and leave a comment below and I'll get back to you on them. All right. Thank you very much, and I wish you the best on your future CELPIP exam. Goodbye.